Welcome back from that, and this particular time we're heading that straight to the coffee court, and of course where we discuss matters regarding the national economy, and very critical questions are being asked under this particular segment. And this time around today we are looking at labor externalization, and this really goes to those people that are really applying out to go and work in those countries abroad. These are the facts that you need to know regarding before you choose a company which you should really go through to go abroad. And definitely one of them, make sure that you choose a licensed company. And quite more in that discussion will be shown in the coffee court during that interview, as we are getting in touch with a spokesperson of the UWERA right there, giving us that insight regarding that. Coffee court has more.
The mechanism of dealing with unemployment in this country, the government of Uganda approved labor externalization as a strategy of fighting unemployment. We want to find out how far this has been achieved, but not forgetting the new law which was amended last year. That and more on our coffee court. I'm joined by Mr. Ron Mukundane. He's the Public and Corporates Manager of the Uganda Association of External Recruitment Agents. Mr. Ron, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for the invite.
Okay. It's now coming to a year when the new law was amended. We want to assess its performance and contribution. First of all, what are some of the articles that are embedded in this law?
Thank you so much. Indeed, as you mentioned, we were operating previously on the regulation which was 2005, which was amended into the Employment Recruitment of Ugandan Migrant Workers, Regulation 2021. And of course, after amendment, it became enacting a law right away. Some of the changes notable changes that were included was one, the change of the bank guarantee from the previous 50 million to 100 million. This is money that is normally put or reserved for the government of Uganda through the means of gender, labor, to be able to access should there be need. Then the other notable amendment was the requirement that the ownership this time should be 100% Ugandan. Previously, we used to have other nationalities owning or having shares in labor recruitment companies, but that was amended, and the ownership is 100% Ugandan. Okay. So, and also the other being the change in terms of the period the candidates undertake through training, which was previously for 7 days, have since been moved to 14 days. Okay. Yes. So far, those were the major changes that were amended from the previous regulation to the current regulation that we're using.
So if we are to assess their effect, let's begin with maybe the 100 million. How many companies can afford such huge sums of money?
Ideally, first of all, it's open to every Ugandan, and not Ugandans of a certain caliber in terms of income and all that. So for those who can, would say have been able to raise that money. As we speak now, we have over 326 licensed recruitment companies, and all these subscribe to the 100 million as bank guarantee. So very many Ugandans obviously can afford, and of course, once you want to do this business, then that's the best way you can do it.
Do we have cases of companies that have actually closed because of these sums of money? Because it's not very little money.
We haven't registered any case or any particular company that could have closed due to failure to raise the 100 million bank guarantee. There are other reasons that have made or could have made companies leave, but not that of the bank guarantee.
Okay. There's some bit of local content in this kind of new amendment, whether the directors of these labor external recruitment companies, most of them must be Ugandans. To what extent has this been achieved anyway?
It's been achieved 100%.
Sure.
At least since, okay, we're not the licensing authority, but we are privy to the licenses and of course the documents in terms of directorship of individual companies. And we have not seen any foreigner in the forms or documents that accompany the licenses. So I would say for those that have been licensed, They are all owned 100% by Ugandans.
Okay. But are these kind of requirements that achievable, attainable, or I don't know what you'll have to say about them?
Now, of course, you see, once they must, when they were amending this regulation, ideally they should have contacted so many stakeholders to pick their views in terms of what they think is practical. And different views were picked from different stakeholders, as inclusive, though, of course, we have reservations on what we submitted versus what was released. But we believe, at the best of our knowledge, that whatever was amended or whatever was agreed to was that they felt was most applicable to the situation that as it is.
Okay. I know you've not talked about the training, but I understand it's part of the new rules and regulations. There's a thinking that you never train Ugandans that are going out for work.
It could be a thinking.
The law calls.
It could be a thinking that is there, but that's not the reality. The reality is that you cannot externalize anyone legally who has not been trained. Our members are supposed to train by law, and the way the system works, or the way the recruitment process is that the training centers are created by the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, and the booking is done on the government portal, which is EMIS, or External Employment Management Information System. Now, for whoever has to train, you must apply through the system. And for whoever has trained is the only one who is cleared. So if there is a thinking that people are being externalized officially without being trained, then the person may not know what is entailed in the system of recruitment. But whoever understands how the recruitment system is, that is run and managed by the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Gender, then it's not possible that you can actually externalize anyone without having been trained.
Okay. Then one will be asking, what is entailed in the training?
The training has a curriculum of its that they take them through. As I mentioned, the training is done through the accredited training centers. And briefly, to mention some of the topics and curriculum, there is what we call financial literacy, which people look at as money management.
Okay.
We understand most of the people we take or we externalize have not been exposed to such huge amounts of money. The lowest category being of domestic workers, which is 900,000, equivalent of 900,000 Ugandan shillings as their salary. And most of these people you find have been earning about maybe 100 and 150. So them being exposed to these huge sums of money, they need some guidance. So within those 14 days, one of the things that they are taken through is the financial literacy, where they are introduced to banking services, where they're introduced to, but not forced, of course. They are advised that they can open bank accounts to be able to save their money, but also to be able to invest their money wisely. And the other being the culture appreciation, whereby people are taken through different, because they're going to a different culture, they're taken through things like the dressing. You see most of the ladies veil, which is the Arabic culture, irrespective of the religion. We also know that there are other religions in Saudi Arabia, for example, but as a culture of Saudi Arabians, they all veil, irrespective of the religion. So the Ugandan ladies are taken through that, but also the way they behave in the different homes. And then the other is the contract appreciation. The people who externalize sign what we call employment contracts. And these employment contracts, we normally call it a four-party contract. It's a four-party in that you, the worker or the employee, you sign, the employer signs, the Ugandan company signs, and also the receiving company in Saudi Arabia signs. And it does not only stop there. It's also signed by the next of kin, your next of kin, or the candidate's next of kin, to be able to understand what is entailed in the contract, which of course is the destination, which is normally the country, the type of job that the person is going to do, the amount the person is going to earn, and of course the home that the person, for those who are going for domestic workers, the home that the person is going to work into. This contract is normally in English and Arabic, and it's simply because we, the Ugandans here, understand most English, and of course the implementers, the other side, or the other party, the Arabs, understand Arabic best. But that doesn't mean that it stops at just being English and Arabic. This contract is translated into local languages, and this is done through this training period that I'm talking about. So the people are taken through each and every term and condition that is entailed in this contract to be able to understand that this is what they're going to do, and this is what is required of them, as well as required of the other parties that are involved. So just to mention a few of the other things, but the curriculum has so many other things that are taught or people are taken through.
So if you see it, one of the things that are embedded in the contract is the financial literacy. Why do we still have cases of people that go abroad, but at the end of the day, they have nothing to produce, and yet they are paid on a daily basis?
Yes, as I said, it is not by force. You're not being forced to, for example, open bank accounts. One of the biggest challenges, by the way, that we face as a sector is the misuse of people's income. Most of the people send their money back here, and the aunties, uncles, fathers, and all the others misuse this money. And most times we know they go with an intention either to maybe buy land or to build something, and the money is misused here. And most times when they return, they find the environment a bit hostile financially and opt to go back or even go in other destinations. Yes, people are advised to open bank accounts. As I said, they are not forced. And this has also caused a bit of a dilemma in terms of the money that when it is sent, how much reaches here. Because it's one of the things that we have noted with a lot of concern, people opting to send money using money transfer services. And ideally, just to localize it here, even when you have a bank account, when you go to withdraw money using an ATM, you are likely to be charged 0 shillings. But when you opt to use mobile money of this within the same amount, you will be charged transactional costs. So likewise, people lose money within the transaction costs because they think maybe that is faster. But again, as I say, it is not by force. People are only advised, and the services are brought to them, but it's still their choice to make and say, I'm opening a bank account or I'm not opening a bank account. Okay.
So talk to us about the behavior issues that usually occur between the other side and this side. You train these workers, but the other side is not trained. Don't you think you're literally not doing anything? You're training the workers, but the other side where people are going to work are never trained.
No, the worker, of course, you the employer, ideally, the employee is expected to provide certain knowledge in terms of what work he or she is going to do. I have not seen in very many places where the employer is trained on how to utilize the services of an employee. However, these particular scenarios, of course, or this particular sector is a bit unique. What is normally done is that the employer, the other side, is taken through, of course, also the contract to understand his or her obligations as the employer. What are you supposed to do? What are you supposed to provide? And most times these are done, but of course, being a sovereign state and most of this being done based on the bilateral that the two governments signed, you expect that the other state, or in this particular case Saudi Arabia, to be taking it on upon themselves to ensure that its citizens, who in this case are the employers, to ensure that they meet their side of the bargain.
So in case there's breach of contract, what do I do as a worker?
The contract can be breached by both parties. It can be you, the employee, as well as the employer. But also the same contract gives provision for termination. Maybe I should start with that. It does allow that, yes, it's a 2 years contract, but it does allow that when you feel you are not comfortable because of different reasons, you can terminate. And it does mention the conditions under which you can terminate. It talks of the notice, which is normally 3 months, that you give notice, but if you wish not to stay within that period of the notice, you can terminate immediately, but pay the equivalent. And the same way you'll be able to pay your return ticket. But that is you as the employee. But also the employer can terminate, can opt to terminate your services, and on different grounds, ideally. But when he or she does terminate the contract, the employer is supposed to provide the return ticket as well as pay you for the period in the same way. In the event that you breach on different grounds, not other than termination, if it is, for example, the employee the employer, then you reach, of course, the authorities, you reach the embassy, you inform the company this side, and then whatever this needs to be done, if it is, say, an issue of salary, you're not being paid, you're not being fed, then it is taken as and something is done within what is supposed to be done. Same way, if you, the employee, opts to breach, because we have registered very many people running away, which we normally call runaways, and of course, once the authorities get to know, then you are actually, whatever you do, you're outside the law, and you're more or less responsible for your actions that happen thereafter.
Okay. Are there circumstances where I can negotiate for salary increase?
Yes.
Sure.
Officially, there is a set salary, and the bilateral, for example, for those Saudi Arabia, going to Saudi Arabia, the bilateral is going to be reviewed, and it's actually under review. And areas that we are looking at for review is one of them is the salary for the Ugandans. This is a bilateral that was signed in 2017, and then 900,000 could have been a huge amount of money. We believe that because of different changes in the different economies and all that, this 900 may not be of the same value as it was then. So this has to be now, we believe it has to be increased. But individual people have had their salaries changed or increased because of how they have worked with them, their employers, and you, like any other place, you can, depending on how you or practice your work, you could negotiate and have your salary increased. But officially, it's going to be, we believe it's going to be increased through the review of the bilateral.
Areas you think that needs a because the NA law matches, it may be good, it may have issues. Anything that you need, you think that needs
of course,
to be aligned?
the financial part is very key. As I said, the issue of the salary has to be looked into, but that not alone the area of the recruitment costs. As you are aware, the government of Uganda and the government of Saudi Arabia agreed, for example, to externalize domestic worker cost involved, or the money that is sent to Ugandan companies, $1,100, and that is, as I said, money that was negotiated and agreed upon in 2017.
Okay.
When then, for example, the passport was about 150. Now the passport is about 400,000. And as you understand, this 1,100 is money that comes in from the other side to process or to pay for these costs, including the ticket, including the visa, including the training, which I talked about, which was previously 7 days, about $50, and now 14 days, which is $100 plus. The GCC, which used to be about $20, now it's $100. So a lot has changed financially. But that aside, even for example, the safety of the Ugandans, the protection of their rights, that has also to be looked into. Maybe then when they negotiated, they thought some things should be done, and maybe some of those things have not been done as they ought to have been done. So some of the reviews they are looking at, or some of the reviews they are thinking will be put in place, include all those things.
Okay. Maybe last but not least, let me engage you on matters of Interpol. You are aware that the interpolator, police, every worker that would go abroad was actually supposed to have an interpolator, which is no longer the case. Has this had any impact? Because it's the interpolator that would introduce you to the other side, that you are actually a good citizen. Has this had any impact?
It's still applicable to those who are going for security jobs.
Of course, I'm talking about labor.
But for example, for those who are going to domestic work, it is true, it is no longer applicable. And as it would, as then it was, because it had not ever found anyone who they had registered as a criminal, and we believe that's why the head of the state opted to have it removed. Same way, we have not had anyone travel who has reached the other side and being registered to have had criminal history and all that. So it has had no value really or impact. Its presence and its absence have not added anything apart from reducing the recruitment process, because we're paying for them. So to us, it's a good thing that the good certificate of good conduct is not present, and we wish that it does not come back to the recruitment process.
Okay. Your parting shot?
Maybe to always encourage people who intend to travel and work abroad, always go through what we call regular labor migration. In this case, it's going through the census recruitment companies, or that being cleared by the government of Uganda. Because we know you can also go as an individual, you can source for a job as an individual, but you must be cleared by the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Labor to be able to know that actually you've gone to work.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ronnie Mukundane. He speaks for Uganda Association of external recruitment agents, I am always delighted whenever I speak to people, especially people that matter, but also most importantly on topics that bring development to this country. This is the Coffee Court, and my name is Fred.